Yes, and we're back. The Celtic Unrestricted View. My name is Ryan Clifford, and joining me in this Wednesday morning coffee club Wednesday reaction is Mr. Alan Stirling. First of all, apologies for the dial-in on Monday. Just due to circumstances, we had to cancel the dial-in as usual, but we are back as Wednesday. Sorry for any inconvenience, but we are back, Alan, looking over and chatting over the game at the weekend. Did the manager get his reaction, Alan? I'll let you fire in, mate. Hope you're well. And did Brendan get the action he wanted?
Morning everyone. Hope everyone's well. Yeah, look back on the weekend, I think he got a fair reaction. I think the majority of players kind of stood up to the mark. A few screamers, shall we say, top class goal of the season contenders we seen in one game. And maybe the other one was Dyson Maeda's kind of tapping. That was the complete polar opposite. So yeah, I think in comparison to the St Johnstone game, it was the exact opposite. Probably what we needed. Did maybe peter out slightly, but at the end of the day, this is the business end of the year, business end of the season, and we're looking as if we're going to clinch that all important title at what's beyond reach for anybody else now. So yeah, no, that's another box ticked, and I think most of the performances were pretty impressive, to be fair.
No, I
What's your
agree with you,
thoughts
Alan.
on it?
I agree with you, mate. I think you're right there, mate. The manager did get the reaction that I think he wanted. I think maybe the frustration is where's that been? Why has it took the manager to obviously go through certain words, shall we say, probably in the dressing room, or certain players been told to do things differently. But whatever he said, it's got the reaction because the first 20 minutes was brilliant football. It was like watching Celtic that we did the start of the year, and similar about under Ange as well. It was aggressive, attacking, the way we want to see football, Alan. And obviously, I think it was Hatate the first goal as well. Fantastic strike, really good strike. And again, he's been under a wee bit of scrutiny the last few weeks as well. No, maybe at his best and things like that. We know when Hatate turns up, he turns up, and he's maybe the first guy we can start the weekend, mate, that he did turn up, and what a fantastic goal it was to start us off.
It was indeed, aye. It was, I says earlier, it was a screamer. Very impressive. Kind of just picked his spot and whacked it, basically. So, you know, that's what we've seen Hatate getting a couple of goals. We've seen his overall play was very impressive for the weekend there. And I know I'm kind of a big fanboy of Hatate, but that's when you fully realise he's capable of the kind of performances when it comes off for him. Then goals like that, the materialise and performances of that materialise. So yeah, it's good to see kind of Hatate on top form, and especially I think it just shows with that first goal as well, because it was pretty top notch, I'd say.
Brilliant goal, Alan. I think Hatate's. I've maybe been a wee bit critical as well in Europe in terms of his ball retention and stuff, but we all know when he turns up, he's technically very good. He's midfield wise, he's very good. He is a very good player for Celtic, and he's one of the first in your team sheet when he's like that. So, obviously, there's previous weeks again there was chat about is maybe he one of the players that maybe his cycle's finished at the club, will he be here next year? Um, what is your thoughts on that, Alan? Because obviously, technically, well, in my opinion, technically the league has won, but mathematically they can't announce it because there's a 0.000 chance that they can come back. But I get layman's terms, they can't call it because of that. But do you think maybe that's something in the summer they'll look at? Do you think Attack want to go to somewhere better? No better as in maybe a better league, or do you think maybe his cycle's finished, or do you think because he is a bit inconsistent, that maybe he might not get to the level that maybe we first thought?
I don't see it as inconsistent. Everybody's got their opinion. I see it as that he plays a high risk, high reward kind of. That's his style of play. He tries kind of a lot of passes that, if they come off, If they come off, he looks absolutely tremendous, and if he messes it up, it makes him look as if he's an awful player. So he plays that's the style of play that he plays these passes that are high risk, high reward. So for me, looking at the summer, with my heart, I think he's one of the best players in the league. I know Greg Taylor got it, but I thought Real Hatate was man of the match at the weekend. I've seen a number of other people say that as well. For me, with my heart, I'd like him to stay. But with my head, I think it's maybe reached that point that Hatate's maybe looking for maybe a different league to play in, maybe a different challenge, maybe some extra money as well. I think that when you look at it's not worked out well for Kyogo, the grass isn't always greener, but you'd be sure to say that Kyogo will be on probably double the wage that he was at Celtic. So you're looking at, with my head, I probably think there's a high chance that Hatate might leave in the summer, because he's getting to that age that maybe this year or next year is probably going to be the only time that Celtic will be able to maximise kind of profit on him. What is he, Luke? Kind of 28, I'm sure.
Give or take, Alan, I would say. So
I'm
I don't
sure
know
he's
exactly,
28,
but
coming
I would say give or
29
take,
maybe.
aye.
So it might actually be 29, I've not even checked that, but I think he's around about 28, 29. So if he's going to make that move to possibly a bigger league, it won't be a bigger club by any means. But if he's going to make that move to a bigger league, I'd probably surmise that himself's kind of thinking that it has to be pretty soon, because he will get past that point where teams will see it kind of viable to pay a lot of money for maybe a 30-year-old, 31-year-old. You don't often see that unless it's kind of top notch players. But I would like Real Hatate to stay personally, but I think if we're being realistic, I think that there is a high probability that he might leave.
Possibly, Alan. Like I said, in football, no every player's going to be a Callum McGregor or a James Forrest and stay at Celtic for a long time. Some players have got different challenges in their career they want to do. Some players, their cycle just does end, and that's just natural. But like we've always said, Henrik Larsson left us, and we've maybe not got a player like him. But eventually, we move on. Whoever it is, if it's Hatate, if it's Engels, if it's Ida, Maeda, Vickers, whoever it is, eventually the club will find somebody else, hopefully, and you'll move on. Just some of the comments, big plunges in. Hope you're well, plunge. JP, morning, mate. JP's actually obviously just due to, I think, Easter holidays and that as well. The kids plunge, that's why Big Man's not on. But he will be back on Friday, as usual. But big Grabs is talking as well. Says welcome, lads. John Anderson, hope everyone's well. Good wee comment for plunge here. Alan, he says about wee Oxel. Obviously we call him wee Oxel, wee Greg Taylor. I actually thought, I might not be his biggest fan. I actually thought he was pretty good, to be fair, Alan. He was actually really good. Maybe that's the freshness of no playing, or is it, I need to try and play these, show the gaffer, but maybe I'm not committed to a new deal yet. If he is, I know there's chat that he might. I don't know if that's the truth, but he's wanting to prove the next 5 to 6 games that he's still able to come in and play. He wants to play the next few games, and obviously end the year in the high at the club. If end his career at a high at the club as well, if he goes, Alan. But what was your thoughts on Greg Taylor? I think the Freeze did say. Did the Freeze not say he would start the game? So I think we were pretty confident that he would start the game. So he was maybe due a turn to get his game time back to the team. But what was your reaction about his performance, mate?
I thought he played very, very well. That kind of accumulates on to getting man of the match, and on the TV. I'm not sure if it was the same at the stadium, but yeah, get man of the match. So you're looking at, he came in, I think the last game looked a wee bit lost. So I think Taylor came in, and you can rely on Taylor being pretty consistent. But kind of, I wouldn't say problem, but issue with Taylor is that we constantly see in maybe the bigger league matches, the bigger cup matches, especially in Europe, when we are playing the likes of kind of Greg Taylor, Liam Scales there, that side is constantly getting targeted, and it's no coincidence whatsoever. It's because that the opposition, whatever team we may be playing, their coaches, their manager, their staff, etc., are seeing the likes of Greg Taylor and Liam Scales, or whether that be Austin Trusty, that left hand side, they're seeing that as a weakness. So it can't be any coincidence. So obviously we Kieran Tierney coming in the summer, would I think that Greg Taylor would be a good rotation, would be a good squad player? Yeah, possibly. I think he has got attributes that can be useful. He can be an important part of the squad. Is he a player that I would want to be kind of number one left back going forward? I don't think he's maybe. It's not against him. He's made a very high level of football, international, and the amount of trophies he's won with Celtic. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at players like Taylor and Scales, as playing against Kilmarnock, their max, possibly, I don't think they're anywhere near good enough to be in their starting 11 consistently for me. I don't know your opinion on that, mate.
No, like I say, I might not be Taylor's biggest fan, but he's definitely able enough to play in Scotland at a high level. I think for us to improve European-wise, you need to recycle the squad. And some players might not be at the level anymore to play at that level. And for me, Taylor is probably, in my opinion, if he's going to stay, he's going to be the second choice. I know Brendan might not see like that. He'll use the word rotation, like you say, Alan, he'll use the word squad, but we all know if Kieran Tierney's fit, he plays the big games. I've seen a few, we're all going to Kieran Tierney a bit because I've seen a bit about him recently on social media, and I put a post about it as well on it. I think Greg Taylor as well. I think it's all well know Alan, he wants to be here and know that he might not play every game. At the stage of his career, obviously now he's got a new baby, his family's starting to settle down. As he may want to go somewhere elsewhere, maybe financially, maybe a better culture, i.e. maybe abroad, better weather, who knows. I think he's definitely fine to be as a rotational basis, Alan. But I think for us to improve and move forward, I think you would need to look at better, and that obviously is why Brendan's brought back KT. I think realistically, let's be fair, every manager who has come in, they've tried to replace Greg Taylor. Lennon done it with Bolingoli, they've done it as well, Annie's done it as well with Bernaby. It's not worked out because Greg Taylor's better than him. That's just a simple fact, and Greg Taylor's obviously rose to that challenge, and we'll see what happens, Alan, with that. If it's one of the last minute things where he gets a new deal and agrees to a new deal at the end of the season, who knows? But I think when it looks at Brendan's maybe kind of resigned to losing him, Alan, and if that is the case, I hope the club are actively looking really now before this playoff game to get another left back in, because if that everybody thinks is going to happen, that KT's going to come in and get injured right away, then you're going to need somebody else. Which, by the way, I don't think it's going to happen. I just think fans are worried and they're trying to take away their expectations of him because he's coming for Arsenal and he's had injury issues. But I think there's this thing that he's going to come in and pull his hammy or do his ankle, or he's going to get a cut in his finger with the first day pre-season. That's the chance that happens not going to happen. It's just the nervousness that I'm coming back and his injury prone. But what's your thoughts on that, mate?
I wouldn't be massively against Greg Taylor getting a new contract, as you say there. I don't know if that will happen, but I think we need to look at it in the overall picture as well. We can't look at it because kind of Scales or Taylor, whoever that may be, that have played decent against Kilmarnock in a home game against Kilmarnock. We can't automatically kind of change our opinion on it if they're good enough to kind of take us forward regards to domination and kind of that statement alone, JP, that worries me. if we're talking about scale, well, I would probably say Trusty. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but if we're saying Liam Scales is the best defender apart from Carter Vickers, then I think the recruitment team need to get their finger out kind of sharpish. It's not against Liam Scales. I just think if we look to find the best version of Celtic and find us kind of progressing, whether that be kind of European football, trying to get to the same level we were last year, this year, and progress through the kind of group stage. So you're looking at who would we bring in left back? Who's going to come in to replace kind of the squad depth? Because you know that, as you say, Ryan, you're spot on. Taylor's going to be that kind of number one position, probably one of the first names in the team sheet, never mind at left back. So, as Jeffrey Schlupp has had one or two bad games, does that mean that we don't want to kind of spend the money? Because there's no doubt about it, he's coming for kind of Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Jeffrey Schlupp, if we have to go for him, he'll be looking for a hefty wage. Is Celtic kind of willing to put that kind of wage up for somebody that's maybe not going to get as much game time as you would think? But as you say, with the Champions League qualifiers coming up as well, we need to make sure we're well prepared. Can I see that happening? Probably not, because you look at the last kind of couple of transfer windows, and I think Brendan's no had kind of all the players and all the recruitment that he's desired. I think there's a few times that you look back in the summer, I think he probably needed another winger, and that was probably the reason why Jota comes in January, and a transfer window later. And then you're looking at, he's come out kind of publicly and says a number of times that he needed another striker to kind of replace Kyogo, and that didn't happen. So I think this should be a kind of a busy transfer window, you would think. There is a number of players, as you say, has kind of reached their cycle, possibly, shall we say. And it probably needs freshened up a fair bit. I think we're definitely needing another striker. By the looks of it, we will be needing another left back, because I can't see Taylor staying myself. Can I see Schlupp being kind of brought in a free transfer? I'm not so sure now. I think that is probably there'll be a hefty wage that he'll be expecting, and whether he can lower his demands for Celtic to make that kind of offer, only time will tell. But it'll be interesting. But for me, when you look at the likes of kind of Scales and Taylor, I don't think we can be blinded by one performance or a couple of performances. We've been on here kind of regularly saying that they're maybe not up to the standard that we need for Celtic progressing forward, and keeping on that kind of dominance in Scottish football, and maybe progressing to the next stage in European football.
I will touch on this point for Big Rab, and then we'll obviously touch more about how good the performance was, Alan. Taylor's been very important part of the team that has put us to 4-0 this weekend. Can't question ability in the team in Scotland, higher levels maybe. No, Rab, I think you probably put that as a nail in the head, mate. I think he's very, very commendable in Scotland. He's been part of an amazing Celtic team in the last few years. He's contributed on and off the park to 4-0. Potentially another treble. Potentially, I say that because no game's going to be a gimme after what we've seen last Sunday. So 2 weeks ago, sorry. So we need to just go to Hampden and win the game on Sunday, and then we go for there. But I totally agree with you, Dab. I think most Celtic fans will probably say the same. You might not be his biggest fan, they make Celtic better, improve us in Europe or things like that. But in terms of being a solid player for Celtic, I think Alan, no matter what you think of him, he's to play at that level consistently, not get injured a lot, basically be there every week, every day, training hard, being part of the trebles, the doubles, the winning team. He's obviously got a lot of ability to be in that team because, like I did previously mention, managers have tried to replace him, but they've not done it because he's been there and he's done it, and he's been very good consistently in Scotland especially, and obviously that's why he's been a major part of the team, mate.
Well, he's reached a level that only some of us can kind of dream of. By the looks of it, from the outset, he's looked like a kind of a perfect professional. He's looked like a perfect professional. He's come in, and the majority of the times he has kind of done a job. But when you're looking at say Greg Taylor, Liam Scales are in that starting 11, if we're looking well, we need to improve throughout that team. For me, that's the first two that you definitely need to improve on. If we get into kind of Champions League games with Greg Taylor, Liam Scales, we will get found out. We have been found out previously with that with they two kind of starting. And as you said, Ryan, it's no slight against them. They've reached a level that only some of us can dream of. They're playing for Glasgow Celtic. They're playing kind of winning trophies, consistently winning trophies. So we can't be too downhearted on them. But when you take a step back away from the emotion and look, where are we going to improve? How can we step forward in regards to continuing domestic dominance, with regards to kind of progressing in Europe? And for me, if we keep the likes of kind of Greg Taylor and Liam Scales and we're starting line-up, then that's no progression, that's regression. I think we need to be looking at, I think that's the reason why we've got an elite manager at the club. We need to be looking at how we can step forward, how we can push on that wee bit extra. And nobody's going to say that we're going to get to kind of quarters or semi-finals or Champions Leagues. But for me, I think we'll set a standard now to qualifying from that group stage. I think that's the standard we should be looking to maintain at least every year. If we can do better than that, fair play, but we'll set that standard now. I think we should be looking to meet that every year. And I'm sorry to say, if we get Greg Taylor, Liam Scales there, I think our chances deteriorate massively if the guys are starting in these type of games in the Champions League.
No, anybody who watches this and knows me personally knows opinions on the two of them. Skills, that's to be fair, we'll touch on them as we go on. I thought he did play well. I personally didn't feel he should have played. Been out injured for weeks and then he plays. For me, it was a kick in the box from Narowski. Trusty was poor, rightly so, he was no playing, but we'll touch on briefly about Narowski as we go along as well. But I thought Scales, let's be fair, no matter what we all thought about the game, the team lineup, he played well. Carter Vickers did look a bit comfortable next to him in terms of he did with Trusty following week against St Johnstone. So apart for the 2 or 3 passes that he shelled at the park, it was decent. Skills. Command didn't really do much, to be fair. I thought he was decent, Alan. I think he's a squad player going forward. I think, like you says, mate, if we're going to go forward, I think we need to go and buy somebody. If it's Carter Vickers like Ilk or somebody as good as Carter Vickers or similar to him, if we're going to progress, because like JP says, if I get some opinions, if JP thinks that Scales is better than Ralston and Trusty, then we need to then go buy somebody else. In my opinion, because if that's the standard that Scales is beating as it stands now, then we're not looking the best in terms of going forward. So, but again, some fans will say the same as JP. I think that Rossi deserves a better chance than he's getting. I think he's been badly treated, personally. But again, I'm not a manager. I don't know what goes behind the scenes. I don't know what's been told. Trusty, I'm willing to give him a bit more time. I think he's got to get straight team out of this country in terms of the way he play. He looks a bit no physical enough. Maybe that'll get coached into him. Maybe that'll be drummed into him in pre-season. Who knows? I seen Hugh Keevy say he's a waste. I think a waste on Trusty's a bit harsh. I wouldn't say a waste, but I would say that considering where he came from, you maybe expect a bit better. We also touched on Ida and Engels as well. They've been told that they're a bit of a waste for Hugh Keevy as well. So we'll touch on that, Alan. But your performance-wise, Alan, first 20 minutes, mate, I thought it was fantastic. Like Joe Hart's ball patch says there, he wanted entertainment. I think we got that, mate. I was really impressed the first 20 minutes. It was back to the usual Celtic that we've been doing 6 months of the season. Under Ange as well, it was fast, it was flowing, it was aggressive, it was right for the off. McGregor was telling everybody where to go. He was animated, he was proper involved like he normally usually is, back to himself. And I just thought it was brilliant, Alan. The game was finished within 15-20 minutes. And if that's the way, that just shows you what we can do, what we can produce, and when it comes to it, we know how good we can play.
It was all about the tempo and intensity. I think there was a few really good performances in amongst that. When you look at the tempo, the hunger, the intensity, that I think that's the main part of it. You've seen us kind of, as you say, flying out the traps. In weeks gone past, that's just not been the case. It's been very slow, tepid, lacklustre, shall we say. But they're not good enough going forward, JP. That's the point. We're no disrespecting them personally for us too. I'd say, Ryan. I think we're giving them all the respect that they're doing very well at the level that they're at. But if Celtic want to progress, they're simply not good enough. I think that's just a matter of fact. If we're looking for Champions League, they've been exposed far too many times at that level. So if we want to play at that level, well, we need to have players that are able to play at that level. And for me, they two certainly aren't. But you're looking at the intensity that we showed, that was lacking in the last number of games. I think you see that difference right away. And Kilmarnock didn't know what to do. You seen kind of Derek McInnes on the sidelines. He didn't know if he was managing a football game or eating Weetabix in a swimming pool. His head was gone, I think. So you're looking at, I think we just need to, Brendan has to drum into the players that they can start games like that. They can provide that kind of intensity, and the times that they don't provide that kind of intensity, then performances and results that we've seen the last couple of weeks, that's what follows that. So yeah, no, it was Joe Hart's ballpark's brilliant name. As he says, it was kind of entertaining, and yeah, it puts us in a good place going into probably our most important game in the season now, which will be the kind of semi-final. So a performance like that's only going to encourage the players and give them a wee bit of confidence that we are kind of back to playing like that kind of standard. And yeah, we'll definitely need to do that and hopefully get a bit of vengeance against kind of St Johnstone for the last performance against them.
I've seen a few comments. Anton's rolling left foot and JP. Lads, I get what you're saying about Scales getting performances in Champions League and get man of matches. That's phenomenal. It's something I didn't do. Aaron didn't do. He's obviously done very well since he came from Aberdeen. But if we're being realistic, for Celtic to be better in every capacity, is Liam Scales a starter every week? No.
He's not been anybody. Brendan's put trust in that before him.
No, I want to focus on the game for the weekend, Alan, and all the positives about the performance and getting back to a victory. But I'm just going through some of the comments. Liam Scales is a steady Celtic player. He's a squad player. Laggy Belker, I think John says it last week when he was on the pod. Laggy Belker scored in the Champions League. Other guys have played with Celtic and won trophies. Marvin Compere won a league trophy. Doesn't mean he's going to play with Celtic. Doesn't mean he's going to have to take Celtic forward. Liam Scales is good enough to play with Celtic in Scotland. To make Celtic better that we want to go in the future, you're bringing guys like Kieran Tierney in. So that's the level that that's the level you're trying to get to. He's good enough, in my opinion, as a squad player. But to take Celtic forward and enhance us in European football and make us better, you need to recycle the squad. You need to look at better all the time. And can Celtic buy better than either Taylor, Scales, Ralston, Yang, who else? Johnny Kenny, Scott Bain, guys? Of course they can. But that's still saying they're bad players. It's just saying that they can improve. Liverpool fans are slaughtering Darwin Núñez. But when Núñez plays well, he's brilliant. But Liverpool fans don't beat him. They say he's not good enough to play with Liverpool. But yet, he's still there. He's done well for Benfica. It does mean that he's a bad player. Liverpool fans just want better. It's just fans just want to improve. It's not saying guys are bad. It's not saying guys are rotten. It's just saying that they're good what they're doing in Scotland. But to make Celtic better in every capacity going forward, can you buy better? Of course you can.
You say kind of man of the match in one game. Everybody can play out their skins for one game. When you look at all the piece, the two guys are getting targeted on that side. Simple as that. And they're getting targeted for a reason. It's not a coincidence. It's because when you look at the level that we're playing at in Champions League, sorry to say, as Ryan says, they're good enough. They're good squad players and they're decent players. Are they up to that level? Nah. They were near up to that level. And you can say one or two man of the match performances. You're looking at I remember seeing Diego Laxalt playing out his skin the first few games, and I'm like, oh, we've got a player here. Doesn't always work out that for 1 or 2 games. You need to look at all the piece. And I'm sorry to say, the eyes don't lie when you're looking at the likes of kind of William Scales and Greg Taylor. They are very good squad players, but if we're looking to progress, if we're looking to kind of push on in regards to kind of dominance and push on in regards to uh, being at that level in Champions League football, then I think anybody with a set of eyeballs can see that we probably should be looking for better than the likes of Greg Taylor, Liam Scales.
It's all about opinions, JP, but I think as a fan base, I think if you ask the full fan base, can we buy better than Greg Taylor, Liam Scales, Yang, Ralston, sort of players like that to make Celtic better? Of course we can, but it does mean they're going to do it because you still need squad players. You still need a squad. But this isn't a podcast to sit and say we need to buy better or we need to do this, we need to do that. But it's all about positivity. We're going for a treble. We've just won 5-1, and Scales and Taylor were part of that, and they were brilliant at the weekend, and that's what we're talking about here. They were brilliant at the weekend. I was really impressed with Taylor. I was impressed with Scales, apart from his 1 or 2 balls at the park that he was trying to pass.
I get kicked off with Greg Taylor possibly leaving. That's how he says. Is
No,
it
but
quite
I
up
was
to
saying
that?
that as
Aye.
a positive. It was just
know.
because it's from the media. I'm not here to criticise players, and I'm here to talk about the positive results. But obviously, in the comments, where they actually comments, people are giving their opinions, which is fine. It's all about the positivity, and Greg Taylor and Scales were part of that. Unfortunately, they didn't get the clean sheet. I personally, again, it was split opinions. I thought Sinisal might have done a bit better, but I'm going to criticise Engels for it because I have thought Engels should have been closer to his man. Similar to Yang at Ibrox, he should have shut that down and no get that across or shot in. But for me, obviously in the first 20 minutes, I thought it was brilliant. It was back to the usual. Carter Vickers' goal, I was right behind that, and I'm being honest, I flew at my seat. I was like, wow, man, that's unbelievable. Whether or
Wasn't
not he meant
expecting
it,
that, are you, for the big
whether or not
man?
he meant it or no, I think he meant it because the way he lined up, it was a strike. It wasn't a cross. I thought he was back to his usual in Saturday. I thought he was really good. He was solid. I just hope that we can keep him next year. Fans might say different. Maybe it's time to sell him. Who knows? I don't know if the money's right, but for me, if you sell him, you need to then probably go and buy 3 centre backs. When it looks like 2 centre backs, so I don't think we can sell him, Alan. It's all about money, mate. I think if it all depends on the price tag for him because I think he's massive to his Alan. Fans might say Maeda is the most important player in McGregor, but he's definitely one of that. And I thought his goal was absolutely phenomenal, Alan. If that's Zidane, Messi, Ronaldo, Iniesta, Xavi, or even if it's I don't know, Anton Rudiger from Madrid scores that. It's worldwide press. That was an unbelievable strike, Alan. And by the way, we've seen Vickers do that once or twice, and what a goal, mate. It was spectacular to see.
Aye, he's got that space and he's just got that a kind of a wallop and it's within cracking of a goal.
Possibly,
I think
JP, aye, possibly, mate. Possibly.
when you're speaking about kind of Carter Vickers, will he leave, will he stay on, will we be actively looking to sell him? For me, I think it's imperative that we keep Carter Vickers. As the discussion before shown, we're kind of up in the air and indecisive about who partners him. But there's one solid centre back there, and that is Carter Vickers. And I think that it's massively important that we keep a hold of Carter Vickers when he is fit. He is the best defender in the league, I'd say. He's the best defender in the league, and he's shown time after time. There has been a couple of times in the Champions League you've seen, I think, with that OG as well. This year, that wasn't entirely the best. Who was that kid? Bruges, wasn't it?
What's that, mate?
Who was the own goal against Bruges, wasn't it?
Bruges, I think so, aye.
Aye. But I think the majority of the time you can realise that Carter Vickers is our strongest centre half by a distance. I think we're constantly speaking about we need somebody else to kind of partner him there, somebody at a similar level. That's difficult to pick up, but I think it would be madness to sell Carter Vickers, no matter somebody's always got a price, but I think the bigger hitters or the guys that are willing to pay maybe the over the odds, I think they might look at his injury record, and maybe that's a blessing for us that they might be put off of paying the kind of substantial amounts of money, shall we say, the money we couldn't turn down. So for me, I would like to see kind of Carter Vickers stay at Celtic for a number of years for now. I think he just gives you that kind of confidence when you're watching Celtic that the defence is a hell of a lot better with him at the middle of it, I'd say.
No, the team is definitely better with him in it, Alan. 100%. We've not really seen him out the team recently, so it's one of the ones. I know in Europe he's missed a few games, Alan. My dad actually said about that. Maybe is it time to maybe because of the European situation, you need probably your best defender fit all the time for the European games if you get to the Champions League or Europa League, whatever it is you get to. Depending what level you're at, you do need them to be fit. But he's been fit for a while now. He's been pretty consistent the last, maybe some fans might say consistent, not the best the last few weeks, but he's been consistently fit recently. And to be fair, he did look more comfortable with Scales at the back. But I do feel Trusty is Brendan's man. He's signed him for big money. So he's probably try and play him as much as he can to get the best out of him and make sure he's going to be the player maybe that he thought he was. But I own obviously Maeda as well. I thought Maeda, that's two strikers' goals, Alan. He's there where a striker should be, and maybe that's him getting into the natural striking mode now. I know he played out wide, but I did notice him getting in a lot. Maybe he's getting used to that playing there now, and was it 31 goals this season, Alan? He's been tremendous. Another brace for him. I think it's his last 8 games he scored at Celtic Park. I think the last record was Ralston or something like that. Somebody was telling me, or somebody else. It's the last time we've done with a player in a long time to score 8 games in a row at Celtic Park. So again, I think with the
Liam
looks at
Scales
Alan,
done it, no?
Who?
Liam Scales, he done it, no?
I
Sorry, I just seen all that,
think
sorry.
I think he's probably looking like he's going to be the player of the year. I think if Nicholas Kuhn kept playing the way he was at the start of the season, he maybe was going to be in contention. But I think with the looks here, Maeda's probably, and well, just for what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from fans and everything else for hearsay, that he might be a big contender or will be the player of the year.
I think he should be, yeah. I think his numbers doesn't lie. I think we've seen the improvement. His conversion rate as well. When you look at his finishing, maybe a year ago, 18 months ago, you look at his finishing, it was left to be desired, shall we say. Was screaming things all the bar constantly, but I don't know if it's because Brendan's kind of worked on certain aspects of his game with him, but yeah. Even before Kyogo's left, especially when Kyogo's left, he stepped up to the mark, and obviously we have touched upon it that other guys simply can't step up to the mark when desired, but Daisen Maeda has. You make a great point with Nicholas Kuhn. His first half of the season was tremendous. Has dropped off slightly since that. I think everybody can agree on that, but yeah, for me, I think for the club player of the year and the country's player of the year, I think it should be Daisen Maeda by a distance.
No, I agree with you, mate. I think he's been tremendous ever since even before he was at the role was a striker, he was still consistently very decent. But it looks like he's maybe either, if it's through Brendan or if it's through his own extra work, it looks like he's definitely been coached on his movement and other things, because his goals were strikers' goals. That's where strikers should be. I thought he was really good. I thought McGregor was back to his best. Again, because you expect it from him, and because he does the simple things and he does it really well, you don't really notice it much, Aaron, because you just expect it of him. But I thought it was tremendous on Saturday. I think sometimes when you don't really, when you expect it of a player, you don't really look at it as much because you expect it. Let's say Scales and Taylor make a mistake, or Yang, or whoever it is, because they're not maybe the best of players, you might go, oh, he made a mistake there. If McGregor makes a mistake, it's, right, that's really, really bad to McGregor because you don't expect it from him. Well, that's McGregor. That's bad. Why is he doing that? But then when he plays well, it's McGregor. He plays well. You don't really praise it because you're just used to it. But I thought at the weekend, Alan, he was really good. He was the captain role was there. You seen it in the warm up. You seen it during the game. It was every time the ball was at the park. He was getting players going, and you seen him when they were celebrating the goals. He was talking to players, and I thought he done his role amazingly on Saturday. And he's somebody as well that hopefully next few games he can lead us to glory.
No, definitely. I think that's when you see the kind of best of McGregor. I think we've said that about kind of players previously in the past that's played maybe not the same type of player, but they played a similar position with the likes of kind of Neil Lennon, Scott Brown, and you notice it more when they're out the team because you see they seem to sit there in that position. And they'll tidy up the game. They'll make sure everything's flowing properly, everything's kind of operating and going forward.
I'll let you answer that, Alan, for JP first, mate. Here's a question. Do you think teams fear Maeda more than Kyogo? Good point, JP. Quite a good comparison, mate. I can understand the question, mate. Dyson's for him.
I wouldn't say so. I still think Kyogo's movement was slightly better than Dyson. I think obviously Dyson's pace, his intensity, etc. That's where his attributes are. I think a lot of teams were petrified of Kyogo's movement. You heard kind of coaches and past managers talking about Kyogo's movement when they were doing analysis on Celtic games, etc. I think that was where people were kind of really, really afraid of Kyogo, was how kind of sharp and quick his movement in the box was. So for me, we spoke about this last week. Obviously, Maeda has been pretty woeful at present. You're looking at if Kyogo was still at the club, it would probably be Dyson, Maeda, Jota, and Kyogo through the middle, in my opinion. So I think Maeda's done incredibly well to step up to that, especially when Brendan didn't really see him as a striker. I know that he played with Japan, but Brendan wasn't want to play him there. So he's done incredibly well, and I think he deserves all the plaudits that he's got. And I think it'll be a well-deserved kind of player of the year when he gets awarded it.
Yeah, obviously as well, there's chat about him potentially with a new deal. Brendan will need to sit down with Dermot and his agent and the player himself. And the player seems happy here. He seems pretty grounded here. And he's playing well. I think the big thing for me, Alan, is if we're going to keep spending money or big transfer fees, big wages and keep the big players, you need to win Europe every season. And when I mean Europe, it's not the Europa League, it's the Champions League, because we've seen it's still a big competition, Europa League, but we've seen the standard compared to, I know we didn't qualify with it, but we played against pretty decent teams, in my opinion. Pretty decent teams. Good, solid players. Even Leipzig didn't do well, but they're still a good team. They've still got good players on their day. Bruges, I was pretty impressed with Bruges. I didn't expect that from them. I know they're a good team, but they're pretty good at Celtic Park. Atlanta away, phenomenal result. Getting that, maybe a wee tad lucky with some of the maybe no conceding, but defended very well. Could have scored as well in Atlanta. So we're playing against a higher level of players. Other teams, Man United, you've seen how poor they are. I'd be pretty confident we would beat Man United. I know that sounds stupid, but especially at Celtic Park, I'd be confident to beat Man United at Celtic Park. People might think I'm Looney Tunes for saying that, but they're not a good team. They're not a good kind of lightning now. The man's under pressure. Players are under pressure. Hoylund's not scored a goal in how many games? So Fernandes is really the wrong spark. So the level I think we need to be at to keep guys like Maeda, Nicholas Kuhn, Carter Vickers, is probably having to be European football every season, Alan. And I think the longer we're in that competition, you'll be able to attract guys like Maeda and stuff like that. And hopefully, Alan, a new deal can be possible in the next few months if we can get that done. Because even if he signs and he's still here, and even if he was scoring goals or he was playing well or doing this, I think Johnny Kenny, with the looks at it, I will touch on him again because it's a bit noise about me about him. I'll touch on it as we go along. He's not really going to be looks at getting any game time, so you might need to get somebody else in anyway to go with either Maeda. So even if Maeda was to go, you then need to buy probably 2 strikers. So even with Maeda here, it softens the blow about no having a first striker at the moment. But for me, he's a must keep, and I just hope we can get him on probably a better deal, because I don't want to say peanuts, but compared to your top earners, I don't think he'll be getting as much as him.
I think probably the deal that he's offering, it might go towards the kind of top earners at the club, definitely. Maybe the one he's on just now isn't really getting that, but I think whatever he gets, I think Brendan, the manager, said in an interview a couple of weeks ago, or last week, that new contract in better terms is definitely deserved. The standard that Dyson's met this year, the standard that he's had since he's joined, has been incredible. But he's just upped at another level in maybe the last kind of 6 months or so, you'd say. So I think it's probably, he'll be attracting kind of attention from elsewhere, but it seems pretty grounded. Maeda seems pretty happy. He's kind of family man in Glasgow. So I'd be hoping that if we could offer him a lot better terms, then he would be quite happy to kind of stay at Celtic and stay in Glasgow. But only time will tell with that. But it's just good to have a kind of player like Dyson Maeda in my squad and my first 11, because it makes it a lot easier for Celtic to win significant games and have good results.
And obviously, as Kaiser mentioned, I think I did mention it other week on the pod about Brendan's presser. Kaiser's spot on that he says that Johnny Kenny's finishing is brilliant. He's working really hard. He's developed into a good player since he's come back, and he's doing well in training, and he can't get minutes. For me, Alan, what's your thoughts on this? And the viewers and people are commenting, what's your thoughts on this? Am I wrong in this? Am I right in this? It's just my opinion, but I think they've stopped the boys' development by not letting him go on loan. I think St Mirren were wanting him. I think Shamrock wanting him back. We all knew Johnny Kenny was not going to play a lot of football. Let's be honest. Either and Maeda were the two guys. Unless they're long-term injuries, Johnny Kenny was not going to get a lot of game time. I think the boy probably knew that himself. But he's obviously wanted to come in, and obviously come out in January. He's trained. Brendan says he's training well, but can he get on the bench? Even when the manager was talking about changes and having to put guys in, he wasn't on the bench. I know Brendan wanted another striker to come in January, and that's why he didn't get one. He's had to keep Johnny Kenny as a first choice striker. I get that. I get the reason behind it, but would it not been better off giving him back out on loan for another 6 months, let him play first team football, let him physically develop again, improve his finishing, his other play, his link up play, everything goes way being a striker, and then potentially in the summer come back, have a pre-season, and potentially, I'm not saying the boy, I don't know much about the boy, I've only seen him in snippets, potentially next year it could then be the third choice or potentially into the second choice if he's developed well. And listen, we probably didn't need better than Johnny Kenny, but I'm just talking about from what I've seen. For Brendan saying that things about him been well and he's doing well, he can't get minutes, surely sending the boy back out on loan for 6 months and maybe bringing somebody up for the B team to be the third choice would be a better option to help Johnny Kenny. Or am I right in that? Am I wrong in that? I don't know what you feel on that, but I feel a wee bit sorry for him that he's not been able to go out and develop.
In an ideal world, you're right. In an ideal world, he should have been put back out on loan to get more minutes, more development. But in the real world, the board kind of said that number. I don't want to say it in a bad way, but they hung Brendan out to dry, basically, where he wanted another striker. And did he get that? So it was forced upon him that Brendan had to...
No, I get your point. I get your point, JP.
But it was put upon Brendan that he had to kind of keep Johnny Kenny in. So it was put upon Brendan that he had to keep Johnny Kenny because he didn't have any other options at that particular time as well. Dyson Maeda wasn't being played as a striker, so we would have only had kind of Adam Maeda, and how would that have worked out? And then Johnny Kenny. So it was probably pushed upon Brendan that he had to keep him because there was no other option. He wanted another striker in, and that in turn would have let Johnny Kenny go out and get game time and develop. But with circumstances, it just meant that for the kind of the safety of Celtic and for in case we get any injuries or suspensions, etc. I think the club and the management decided that they had to have at least two strikers at the club, and Kenny would be that kind of third choice in case everything went wrong.
No, it was just something that was the last few days, I think, that I've just been kind of wondering. Do you think maybe development wise would it not been better to send him out? But again, I get the fact that we did need a third striker, but surely there's a boy in the youth Ireland that's chopping it a bit.
There was Daniel
Um,
Cummins, isn't there? He's been kind
Aye,
of
so, but again, I think maybe with the fact that he said no to a contract, that maybe says, well, you're on the 13 then. I don't know. We don't know what the ins and outs. We can only go by what we see on the media, what we see online, what we see from the manager. We can only go on what we see. So, but as you mentioned, Ida, there was chat about the weekend as well, and obviously from St Johnstone game about Ida, Trusty, and Engels. Where they're wasting money, according to some people there. Some fans are saying give them time. Some fans are saying no, they're good. Which listen, all about opinions. Fans like Trusty, fans like Ida, fans will get faith in Ida. Fans think Engels will be brilliant next year. Fans think Trusty's going to be brilliant next year. Fans say the opposite. On the freedom, Alan, I don't want to be negative. I'm just pointing out what's been said online, what's been said in the media. Hugh Keevins has mentioned it. What's your thoughts on the three players? And I will touch on Ida myself because I think he's got to do a bit more. Trusty, a bit more physical, I think, and he might be a bit. I think he'll be fine. Engels, I'm a big fan of him. He's not been great for the last few weeks. I thought he was better on Saturday, so let's see how he continues into pre-season. But I get fans' opinions, aren't it? It's all about opinions. It's all about what you see and what you feel and what you want for the players. And I think the price tags, it's not the players' fault that price tags are price tags. It's not the players' fault, and that is going to be a small hindrance on when they don't play well. I get that, but what's your thoughts on the three players that's been quietly mentioned a lot since last week because of the transfer fees? And let's be fair, before anybody, if anybody clips it or comments, I'm no slagging because of the transfer fees, because the price tag is no their fault, but we can only go on that because that's what's been put in front of us. But what's your thoughts on the three players, Alan, that's been criticised a wee bit the last few weeks?
with regards to Trusty, I think that he's shown a certain level that I've been impressed with, but it's not been consistent enough. There has been games, I think, particularly, I think it was the day away that we drew there, wasn't it?
He got pushed off the ball at White,
Just
didn't he?
over the ball, so he's been maybe a bit too weak in certain games, certain situations. But there has been other games that he has looked very impressive. So I don't know. He's kind of one I'm sitting in the fence with just now. I think you'll look at probably pre-season, see how he gets on, and go for there. I think Brendan will be the best judge of that, obviously being the manager, so he'll be able to judge if he's going to be in his plans next year, if he's going to be he's kind of his main centre back pair with Carter Vickers. So I think we've seen some good and bad from Trusty. I think with Engels it's more good for me. I think that Engels you've seen as a high price tag, but I think you've seen a hell of a lot of ability with Arne Engels. I think you can see that his technical ability can be top class. On the other side of that, I think maybe in a few games you've seen him, he's maybe been hiding, but you've got to take into account as well, still a relatively young boy. I think he's only 21, isn't he? I'm sure, something like that. So I'd probably say about 80%, 70-80% of the games that I've seen Arne Engels in, I've been pretty pleased. I've been pretty impressed. So I wouldn't be putting Engels down whatsoever. I think that he's just kind of adjusting to a way of life, kind of new culture, new club, a far bigger club in Celtic, and that might be getting used to. Right, had a reader. Nah, I would love to see him kind of come out and prove the I've said this in the last few weeks. I think he done okay in his loan move. He has he has scored goals in the Champions League, but at the end of the day, as I said last week, Tony Watt and Lagerbielke scored goals in the Champions League. He has scored goals in a cup final, but Joel Pierre Dumby scored in a cup final as well. So for me, I think we've had our pants pulled down by Norwich properly with that kind of price tag. Honestly, I think that what he's shown at present, he's had a number of chances to kind of step up to the mark. He's not done it. He's not done it whatsoever. His prime chance to step up to the mark was when Kyogo left, and you've not seen it. And then you're looking at Brendan, surprisingly, kind of gives him a chance at the weekend there. The team does tremendously well, and I think we've seen their stats, I think I might have, but he basically contributed nothing to the game. He had no shots. His turnovers, his duels, he basically won nothing. The stats are very, very alarming. I hope I'm coming on here eating humble pie next season. He comes on and he kind of becomes our main striker and starts performing tremendously well. But for everything I've seen this season, I can't see it whatsoever. I don't know your opinion on the matter, but I just don't see what he offers, and I just even his physicality, is it there? It seems to be daft flicks that he does. It absolutely infuriates you, honestly. But I wish him all the best. Like every other Celtic player, we'll be supporting him. We'll be hoping that he kicks on. Hoping next season is a different kettle of fish. Or hoping that next season he really makes that position his own. But from my personal opinion, what I can see as of yet just now, not good enough.
Well, the actual stats from the weekend game, if anybody can see them there, that's just the stats from the game. So we had 6 shots in goal, 14 shot attempts, 9 fouls, no yellow cards, with 10 corners. So that shows you the game, Alan, that we're aggressive going forward. We're trying to obviously go and attack and score goals. And when you've got a lot of corners, it tells you've got a lot of possession. It obviously tells you you're going full attack. Again, on Maeda, if anybody can see, that is his stats there. So he played 60 minutes, he had no shots, he had no dribbles out of one, and no key passes. His passing accuracy was 68%, I think it was. He lost the ball 11 times, and he won 1 out of 6 duels. Again, but he's not able to do that, he's out of a striker, but that's a small map if you can see it. Basically, if you can zoom in when it's on the TV or when it's after the podcast, you'll be able to see it. It's just the way it is. Basically, he done nothing in the game according to the stats. Sometimes I just believe if you're a stat man or you look at your eyes. For me, my eyes don't deceive me. I'm not saying I didn't think he was absolutely no. I didn't think he was rotten. I just didn't think he was brilliant. I thought he done all right in some of his link up play. His movement was okay, but I didn't think he was. Put it this way: see the goals Maeda scores on Saturday. That's the goal Keita should be scoring. That's the positions what Eder should be getting. Well, you like stats or no, or you think stats are good. Anybody's JP, speak to you soon, mate. Enjoy, mate. Enjoy the rest of the day, mate.
Yeah.
Bye, mate. I just think that he's scored a few goals, Alan, this year. I think it's 14. So realistically, if a guy still played every game, that's all right. That is all right. But I think for Celtic, if he's bought to be a second choice striker, we can't pay that money, and it's no Eder's fault that we paid the money. That's just the way it is. It's just the way that it's just happened. Maeda's obviously outperforming at the moment. I think the next few games you'll see how he goes if he gets a few starts. Hopefully, end the season in a high. But listen, I'm no a football analyst. I'm not a manager, but I know for a fact if a player at that level's getting these stats, they'll be getting told on the Sunday and Monday, listen, your stats are this. That's not good enough. I like to think that if it was Eder, if it was Engels, if it was Yang, McGregor, Vickers, whoever it is, that you need to improve your stats. But listen, I'm not really a big stats person. I'm more on my eye because I think sometimes stats can deceive you on your eye. Because you might look at Engels stats and it might be brilliant, but it might not be good in your eye. But you might look at his stats and think, oh, his stats are terrible, but I like to look him on the eye. So it just depends how you see football. Do you look at stats now? Football is a stats game now. It's all data. But I like to look at my eyes. And
Right.
he scores goals, yes, I get that. But I think his overall play has to improve. Like you say, Alan, another pre-season with Brendan, he could get that another hard grueling pre-season. Bearing in mind he didn't get the full pre-season last year with Celtic, so I get that. If there's one guy that could make him better, Alan, in my opinion, it's Brendan Rodgers. And I think I listened to Go Radio a wee bit the other day. Mark Wadey was saying that could Celtic get a better manager right now if it just say Rodgers left end of his 3 year and there was no contract. He actually says on Go Radio that he thinks there's a contract therefore when to sign. It's just up to Brendan whether or not he's going to sign it, and does he feel Dermot and Lowell or Nicholson, whoever it is, match his ambitions, etc., etc. But for me, if there's one guy that can prove any player, if it's Engels, Trusty, Ida, Yang, Bain, Ralston, whoever it is in that team, Johnny Kenny, it's Brendan Rodgers. And the more players away him, then you should improve to a level that makes you obviously improve.
We did Harry Potter and make it look like £9 million striker. The way it looks in no, that's a joke, right? No seriousness. Aye. I hope that all the players that we've mentioned kind of kick on. All the players we've mentioned, I hope they kick on. But with regards to kind of Brendan, can we attract a better manager? Certainly not. I think the only reason that I've said this a number of times, the only reason that we've got somebody at the calibre of Brendan Rodgers is because his connection with Celtic previously, and he's a fan as well. So I think that's the only reason that we're able to attract that kind of that standard of manager. If that standard of manager was a Celtic fan or had a connection with Celtic previously, would they entertain the Celtic job? I very, very much doubt it. So, well, that is having Brendan here is we're very pleased about that. We would like him to probably stay longer. Whether that's the situation or not, we move forward, whatever it may be. I hope he does stay. I hope he's still got the hunger to stay. I hope that he's getting the conditions that he likes from no personal conditions, obviously, like the incentives of kind of we're looking to invest so much into wages, infrastructure, kind of transfer fees, etc. I think that's what maybe sway him to kind of sign another deal. I think if we see the kind of ambition or the incentive to kind of keep progressing forward through Celtic, if he sees that, I think that might kind of persuade him to stay another year or two, I'd say.
No, I think, again, I'm only going by what Mark Goody says, and he says that he thinks there's something in the pipeline for him. It's whether or not he wants to or not. But last bit of the pod, mate, before we head off, obviously Kieran Tierney's been a bit of a talk the last few days again. Joe Hart's ball patch said that he's wet himself about getting back. I'm probably the same. Joe, whoever you are, I think he's a tremendous signing. Again, some fans were saying to me that I know he might get injured, but any player can get injured. Listen, I get it for both sides. He might not play all the games. He might need managed. I get it, but I just think for me, Alan, it's to me, people might think I'm wrong here, right? And I'm willing to be shot at and told next season that I'm wrong. And he was always injured, Ryan. I told you so. Listen, fine, I can accept it. For me, Celtic getting a guy who's still able to play with Arsenal every week. He probably could if he was picked, but he's on the bench every week with Arsenal. He's coming on off the bench, so he's still able enough to play in the Premier League and the Champions League, in my opinion. This guy could win the Champions League and beat Celtic next year. For me, it's an unbelievable coup. I'll say a coup to get him back in a free transfer because, like you say, Aaron, I know previously you're a bit injury. I get it, mate. I get it. The only reason we're getting him back is one, he's a Celtic fan. Two, due to some injuries that his values doing a wee bit. And if he was fully fit in terms of no had a lot of injuries and stuff, you're talking 50, 60, probably £40 million to buy him. So, in my opinion, we've got that player for nothing, i.e. with high wages, he'll probably get a Bosnian fee, I get it, but I'm really hoping that it's not going to bite me in the bum, that he gets injured and he's not playing, because I think it's a tremendous signing. In my opinion, I'll probably keep talking about this every single podcast because I just can't wait to get him back. That I think he'll play a lot more games than some fans think, and I hope I'm right.
No, I think it's a great signing, but as I've said a number of times, the only reason we'll get the signings because of the question marks over his head. If the question marks didn't exist, I don't know what fans are expecting. The 99% of the time that we sign a player, we've never heard of the player before. He's never played in kind of that kind of level. He's never played at kind of Premier League and Champions League level. Look at maybe Jeffrey Schlupp this year, but that's because he's approaching maybe the end of his career. He's on loan, but the majority of players that we bring in, you've never heard of them. You need to go and do your kind of due diligence. You need to go and look up the famous kind of Wikipedia and YouTube videos to see what you're getting. But you're looking at Kieran Tierney. I don't know what fans are expecting. The only reason that we're getting him is because of the question marks over his head. It's because that he's maybe not played as much, because he's had more injuries than most players. And most importantly of all is because his connection with Celtic. So you're looking at, if Kieran Tierney didn't have the injuries, if Kieran Tierney had played consistently for Arsenal a couple of years ago, there was rumours that the likes of kind of Man City and Real Madrid were looking at him. That obviously hasn't materialised, whether that was true or not, that will never be revealed basically, but that's the reason that we're getting them, because we don't know if it's going to work out right. That it could all go balls up. It could all be that's the case. Like he gets injured or he can't kind of consistently play. That could happen, but that's the risk that we are taking because the question marks over his head. And for me, that is a gamble, but it's for me 100,000,000% a gamble worth taking, because if it comes off, we have got a spectacular player there.
Well, like you say, Alan, sometimes we sign players and we don't know about them. So we need to do our own research, we need to listen to scout reports, we need to go on YouTube. And you're thinking this guy looks all right, and he comes, he doesn't do well. Or a guy comes and we never heard him, and he's brilliant. Like Hatate and Kille they come and they're brilliant. So I think we're in a good place there that we know what we're getting. In my opinion, you're getting, if he's fully, in terms of a full peak Kieran Tierney, in my opinion, he's a world-class left back. That's just my opinion. Maybe it's because I'm maybe a bit biased towards him, I don't know. But maybe he has slowed a wee tiny bit, but that's understandable due to injuries, and I get all that. But I've seen him for Arsenal. The only game I've seen him, he wasn't great, was when he came on for Scotland the last game. He looked a bit stiff, he looked a bit slow. But then the next week he plays for Arsenal, and he plays about 15, 20 minutes, and he creates the most chances in the game. So I think we've got a top level player. He'll raise the standards at Celtic. He'll not have shitty performances off certain players. He'll listen, this isn't good enough. This has got to be better. That's another leader into the team as well, Alan. It adds to your Vickers, McGregor, your Schmeichels. He's basically a manager in the park. He's the way I see it is, in terms of football and age and football, and he's at his peak. Maybe no in terms of game wise, because he's missed a few recently, but you're getting a peak here in terms of his experiences for down south. In my opinion, he's a better player than he was when he first left. So for me, it's a no-brainer, mate, to get him in. And I don't think it's a gamble personally. I think it's a tremendous signing. Aye, mate, thanks for your time again. Weather's no great, but hope for the sun will be back very soon. But again, thanks to the viewers and commenters. Sorry I can't get through them all. Hope you have a good Wednesday, the rest of the week. Obviously, big game in Sunday. We'll talk about that for the Friday. I think the usual time, 8 o'clock probably, usual time on a Friday night. If you do like the content, you like me now and talking nonsense, and you like JP, you like Barry Bannon, you like everybody who's on the podcast, please like and subscribe to the podcast. We are on Facebook, Twitter, social media, every social media platform we're on. Again, one thing we've not really mentioned recently as well about mental health. If you want to chat about football, mental health, anything at all, myself, Alan and JP, our DMs are open. Just give us a wee message on the platforms. You've already been anonymous, so just give us a wee shout and we'll happily have a wee chat if it's about the bins getting collected, if it's about football, if it's about anything at all. We're always here for a laugh, a joke, and we can help you towards that as well. So, but again, until then, Take care, hail, hail, and we will
Hail.
see you all very, very soon.